Ladies and gentlemen, live from the nation's capital, that's Washington, D.C., to you and me. It is the Exceptional Conservative Show. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. So glad to have you here tonight. Mary Brockman in our chat roll at the exceptionalconservativeshow.com reminds us that this is Sackheads Night. Sackheads Radio live from the California IA, the left coast, at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Right after this particular program, you can easily go to shrmedia.com and then you will be able to pick up the show live. And I assure you that Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint will definitely entertain you while educating you on the more finer subject matters of conservative talk. Tonight we got a pretty big show. 1040. The beautiful and the brilliant Shannon Wright, who is running for City Council President in Baltimore, Charm City, that is to you and me, will be joining us, and she has a very big announcement to make. So I hope that you all stay tuned for that. At 10:10 p.m. this evening, we will be releasing the KRAKEN. Yes, none other than the glorious, melodic, symphonic Ralph Chittams, DC GOP chairman, whom we love very much, will be joining us. We'll be talking about Metro shutting down today. How about that? Who knew? Then finally, last but certainly not least, at 9:10 p.m., we'll be talking with Father Frank Pavone, National Director of Priests for Life. We'll be talking about the Supreme Court case against the HHS mandate. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they, the poor little women, nuns, and so many others are suing the U.S. government over the institution of the HHS mandate. Listen, you know how we start this particular program off, without a shadow of a doubt. And before I even do that, let me just say this real quickly. Mrs. Biggs is watching from live stream or Ustream, so we're glad that you're joining us via live stream or Ustream. And for those of you who want to get a closer look and a closer touch, you can come to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. Without further ado, we always make certain that we start off the show in the right way. You can easily find your right hand, you put it over your heart, you find a flag, and you pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Let us begin. Take it away, kids.
Ready, begin.
That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so glad to have you here tonight. It's been a grueling day in the nation's capital, simply because 700,000 people had to figure out another way to get to work today. The Metro Rail train system was shut down. We were told it was shut down for the purposes of a low-risk jumper cable problem on the third rail of the trains. Apparently they had not been inspected for over a year. And so they decided that they had to shut down the system to make certain that that inspection took place. I'm not believing that. I was under, and I still believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that there were threats upon this particular nation. And that, quite frankly, there may have been terrorist concerns. That's my belief. That those things did not come to pass, great. We found a nice way to find jumper cables in the metro section, metro train operating system. But it leads me to believe that there might be other major issues with the Metro train system if it truly is Metro itself and not jumper cables. And so they decided they were going to close down the Metro system for 29 hours. We will be getting reports very soon on whether they will be reopening that in the morning. It will be a very eventful morning in Washington, D.C. For 2 consecutive days, people could not get to work because of the Metro system, which basically tells you that there is a public transportation monopoly that needs to be destroyed. That's just my belief on that one. So many other things that are going on today, including the fact that the President of the United States made a decision, and he wants you to know about it. So here goes.
Despite Republican opposition, President Obama nominated a replacement for the Supreme Court vacancy.
To suggest that someone as qualified and respected as Merrick Garland doesn't even deserve a hearing, let alone an up or down vote, to join an institution as important as our Supreme Court, that would be unprecedented. I simply ask Republicans in the Senate to give him a fair hearing. If you don't, then it will not only be an abdication of the Senate's constitutional duty, it will indicate a process for nominating and confirming judges that is beyond repair. It will mean everything is subject to the most partisan of politics, everything, and make it increasingly possible for any president, Democrat or Republican, to carry out their constitutional function. I have fulfilled my constitutional duty. Now it's time for the Senate to do theirs.
Constitutional duty, huh? What do you have to say for arguing the exact opposite while you were in the Senate?
There are some who believe that the president, having won the election, should have complete authority to appoint his nominee. I disagree with this view. I believe firmly that the Constitution calls for the Senate to advise and consent.
Ironically, then-Senator Joe Biden also urged not to appoint a justice during an election cycle.
That once the political season is underway, and it is, action on a Supreme Court nomination must be put off until after the election campaign is over. That is what is fair to the nominee and essential to the process. Otherwise, it seems to me, Mr. President, we will be in deep trouble as an institution.
Mitch McConnell on Wednesday expressed the importance of the Biden rule.
It seems clear that President Obama made this nomination not with the intent of seeing the nominee confirmed, but in order to politicize it for purposes of the election, which is the type of thing then Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Biden was concerned about. The exact thing Chairman Biden was concerned about. The Biden rule supports what the Senate is doing today, underlining that what we're talking about is a principle and not a person.
Why do you think?
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Western Journalism for presenting that particular great piece of hypocrisy for the American people. Yes, just the other day, Joe Biden, who is now vice president, who happened to pretend himself a senator, and Barack Hussein Obama, who happens to pretend himself a president, who pretended himself to be a U.S. senator. Each of them were adamantly opposed to Alito becoming a U.S. Supreme Court justice, especially the nomination being done during an election period. So I must say to you, Merrick Garland, we really appreciate your volunteerism to be the gadfly, the sacred beast that surrenders. We really do. We appreciate you. But you know what? DOA, dead on arrival. Not going to happen. His opinions on the Second Amendment alone are not conservative enough to be the next Supreme Court justice, especially to replace such a icon as Supreme Court Justice Anthony Scalia. We will be right back after this message with Father Pavone.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredient. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you know where you need to eat in Washington, D.C., 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748-301-449-9000. That's infusedinfused.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Pavone has joined us. Father Frank.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com.
There is one other participant in the conference. Please announce yourself.
We'd like to introduce the summer, present to others the great Father Frank Pavone, the National Director of Priests for Life. Good evening, sir. It's a great honor and privilege to have you back on the Exceptional Conservative Show.
Well, it is a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me, and good evening to you and to our listeners.
Thank you so much. Now, Father, a lot of people may be joining for the first time and don't understand exactly what is Priests for Life all about.
Well, what this is actually the largest organization in the Catholic Church that is focused exclusively on the task of bringing an end to abortion, restoring protection to our youngest brothers and sisters in the womb. And of course, as the title suggests, it's run by a group of priests, but we have a large team of lay people as well. We've got about 50 people working for the organization, and many of us travel around and speak in churches and local communities. We do media, we do strategy sessions, we publish educational materials, and we hold training sessions to help people get involved in the pro-life movement and help groups to work together strategically to advance the pro-life cause. So that's, in a nutshell, Priests for Life, and it's a family actually of several different kinds of activities and ministries joined into one.
Listen, Priests for Life has been just a tremendous influence, especially in urban America, and reaching out to African Americans who make up a bulk of the, let's just be honest, the races that make up the bulk of the abortions in America are Hispanic and Black. In urban America, and for 50 years we've been told by Democrats that we want abortions to be rare, safe, and some other little crap along with it. But the bottom line is that none of that has come to pass, and it's looking like a complete genocide of races in urban America.
A lot of people wonder why we say this, and we do say this very clearly, and someone who says it along with us is Dr. Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. She's part of our Priests for Life team and heads up our African American outreach. And the reason we say this is that it's demonstrably true. Various studies show very clearly two things. First of all, that the abortion industry of today is rooted in a very deep racism and a genocidal desire to eliminate the blacks from our population. And it goes back to Margaret Sanger, who had ties with the Ku Klux Klan and various documented connections. And then secondly, it's seen in when you study the placement of abortion facilities throughout our country. They are overwhelmingly in these minority communities, and you don't just build a facility like this. You plan it out.
Yeah.
You figure where you're going to be to get the best business. It's a business, and you're gonna open up a store. You're gonna look at like they always say, what's the most important question? Location.
Yeah.
Business person. Yeah, you're gonna be taking account of that. So yeah, it's very sad. Some people think it's overly provocative to talk this way, but now we want to invite our listeners to just take an objective look at the evidence, and you see that this is the case.
We're going to encourage everyone who's listening tonight, and those who are going to the chat roll at the Exceptional Conservative Show. You can easily get the actual release by Priests for Life regarding the upcoming prayer rally on the night before the Supreme Court hears the case against the mandate presented by the U.S. Congress. And the reason why I'm bringing that up right now is that there are those, and I'm going to segue after this question regarding Pope Francis, there are those in the liberal world who may not necessarily be Roman Catholic and may not necessarily be religious either, that believe that he is moving the Catholic Church to a more open acceptance of contraceptives, abortion, and other slightly, let's just say, unacceptable forms of sexuality in our community. I want to get your input, your thoughts regarding the current Pope on those particular matters.
Yes. Now, I worked at the Vatican for a couple of years, and I've also had the chance to meet Pope Francis on 5 different occasions. He's a very different man than the popes that have gone before, no doubt. I mean, every pope, like every person, has his different emphases on different things, different philosophies, different worldviews. But from the perspective of like you say, people thinking he's moving the Catholic Church in a certain direction, we have to understand what Catholics believe about the Pope. And if those listening now are Catholic, they may know this already. Those that are not Catholic, just to clarify, the Pope is called the Vicar of Christ. Now, a vicar is somebody who represents somebody else and acts in the place of somebody else, and has to be therefore consistent with the person that they're representing. So we do not believe that the Pope has the authority to change fundamental teachings of the Church, especially on these basic questions of human sexual activity and sexual morality. So sure, sometimes people will look at this Pope and they'll say, he's a little bit too quick to say things off the top of his head. Well, listen, popes make mistakes too. We do not believe that popes are beyond making mistakes. What is called the infallibility of the Pope is a very, very, very narrowly focused kind of belief that we have. It's in the very rarest of circumstances that teaching applies. This is a man who, he can make mistakes. He does make mistakes. He says things that he probably shouldn't say. But the Catholics do not believe that church teaching can be changed just by the Pope standing up and saying something, especially in a news conference. And so, we have to take these things in perspective and, and be very careful to understand. Church teaching does not come from the Pope. The Pope, rather, has the responsibility to preserve the church teaching, which is handed down through the centuries and which is not under the control of any one person, even the Pope.
Now, Pope Francis did visit the Little Sisters of the Poor, Home of the Aged, when he visited the U.S. Last year. And it was done undercover, so as not to derail his visitation here in the States. But in your opinion, is he in favor of Zubik versus Burwell, meaning is he in favor of the Priests for Life and Little Sisters of the Poor's fight against the HHS mandate? Forgive me.
Yes. No, he's definitely on our side on that, and he certainly encouraged the sisters to stand firm. I don't know that they discussed that case in particular, but it's true that Priests for Life, as well as Little Sisters of the Poor, as well as 35 other plaintiffs, we are all joined together in the Supreme Court in this case, and it's about religious freedom. It's a case which goes to a very basic principle of American life, which is the government may never force a believer to have to choose between following his faith or following the law. We always need to be able to do both at the same time. It should never be illegal to practice any aspect of our faith. And we're not just talking about in church on Sunday, we're talking about also in the workplace on Monday and on every other day of the week. So it's a very important case, and but a very simple, and there's a lot of complex, arguments going back and forth, but it really resolves down to something very simple. That the government cannot say, oh, your belief, we don't agree with your belief, but therefore we can't practice it. Listen, the government is free to disagree with our beliefs, but not free to disregard them. If we have the beliefs, and we have them sincerely, religious freedom means that the government protects our right to live out that faith. And in this case, as you know, it comes down to how we structure our health insurance policies for our employees. And the government wants us to include abortion in the form of abortion-inducing drugs and various other practices that we consider immoral. It wants us to include those in our health insurance coverage, and we're saying, no, we're not going to do that. Give us an exemption. And the irony is they already do give an exemption to all kinds of people, both religious and non-religious, and they're not giving the exemption to us, who are plaintiffs in this case. So that's what it's about, and most definitely the Pope has spoken out about religious freedom, and again, it's a core teaching of the Church.
Well, let me understand this, Father Pavone, and we're so excited to have you here tonight, and you know my feelings on this. You know my feelings on this. You know that I wish this to be overturned, not necessarily by the Supreme Court, but certainly by Congress, to eradicate the Affordable Care Act. But does that make me evil, sir? Does that make me ineligible to be a member of heaven because I want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act?
Well, I certainly hope not, because I'm right in there with you. I mean, when we say, and when we say that, and I know exactly what you mean, and we're on the same page with this. When you say that, neither you nor I mean that we don't want people to have health care. We want everybody to have health care. I mean, obviously, that's a vision, that's a goal, that's something that goes to our care for our fellow human beings. The big question always is in how. The devil is in the details, and this piece of legislation is a monumental disaster. I mean, it's first of all, it's too complex. Remember when it was being debated? It goes back 6 years already. When it was being debated, how the legislators themselves were saying, "Oh yeah, no, none of us read it. We didn't read it." 2,000 pages of legislation. Come on, it's too complicated for these legislators to even read. Maybe it's too complicated to pass.
Yes.
And, there's a lot that has to be done to fix this.
Exactly. We're talking with Father Frank Pavone, who is with Priests for Life. He's the national director. We are celebrating the fact that there will be a hearing of the consolidated cases of Zubik versus Burwell, Southern Nazarene University versus Burwell, Geneva College versus Burwell, the Roman Catholic Archbishop Washington versus Burwell, East Texas Baptist University versus Burwell, and Little Sisters of the Poor Home for the Aged versus Burwell. Consolidated cases that will be heard on March the 23rd of this year before the Supreme Court. Now, I want to get your opinion on this, and both of us are godly men, but it's kind of unique that Antonin Scalia, who is probably one of the greatest proponents for what we were working on here with Priests for Life, is missing from the dais. And now today, a gentleman who is slightly more liberal than he is conservative is being nominated by the President of the United States. I want to ask you, sir, first and foremost, your thoughts about Antonin Scalia, just in general, character and personality, and then lastly, how great an impact is that on the hearing of the case?
Well, I knew Justice Scalia on a personal level, and both personally and professionally, he was really a giant. A giant of understanding how the Constitution works, how the country and the courts are supposed to work. A giant of faith. He was a man of deep faith and spirituality, and it's reflected also in his family. I know some of his family, particularly his son, who is a Catholic priest as well, and Father Paul Scalia, who did such a good job at his funeral, which was televised, of course. Great man. He was sorely missed, and the timing is just incredible. I mean, we're sitting here scratching our heads, and here we got this month, two major cases related to abortion and the culture of life. Are being heard in the Supreme Court. One had the oral arguments back on March 2nd. That's an abortion case arising out of Texas, having to do with the regulation of abortion clinics, as you know. And then the other one, this case of the Zubik case, in which is included also our case, Priests for Life versus HHS. So the absence of Justice Scalia, we're concerned about it, what it means. We know he would have, we know where he would have come down on this particular case. And he would have been, of course, in favor of religious liberty. He would have protected our right to live out our faith in the workplace, in our insurance policies, and everywhere else. And so his absence on the court means that we have one less favorable vote. Now, does that mean we will lose the case? Not necessarily, because the court is pretty evenly divided. And once again, it comes down to Justice Kennedy, as it so often does. But here's the complexity in this case. It may end up being 4-4, okay, evenly divided. Now, if that's the case, then the court doesn't have a majority ruling either way. So what happens then? In this case, it's complex because the basic arguments that we're dealing with have been heard in many different courts across the country, and as they have percolated up through the court system, there has been what's called a circuit split. In the circuit courts of appeals, there's been one decision that was favorable to the arguments that we are making, and other decisions that have been unfavorable, and it's the same set of arguments. So since there's only one Constitution in the United States, the Supreme Court is therefore there in order to resolve this difference, this split, this contradiction. If it's a 4-4 decision, that means essentially that the court still is going to have a job to do. And what they may do, therefore, is say, okay, we have to wait until next year. Once we have a ninth justice, we will rehear this case and come up with a majority decision one way or the other. That would not be a bad outcome, actually, because I think, certainly in the meantime, all of us plaintiffs will be protected from the mandate by the same injunction that's been protecting us so far. And secondly, it'll give us all more time to educate the public about what this is, because it really, most people don't even have the slightest idea what this case is all about. But it's important for them to know because it affects their religious freedom too.
Now, this is very important too on these two very vital cases, the one from Texas regarding abortion clinics. And the purview of the governor to make determinations regarding health care in his own state. In this particular case, Priest for Life versus Burwell. Because the next president of the United States will select the Supreme Court justice, but the Congress before the Supreme Court justice is allowed onto the court through consent and advisement to the president may actually vote out the Affordable Care Act. Would that be a great boon and benefit to this particular case?
Well, that's true. Yes, it would, and that would be a very interesting turn of events too, because the HHS mandate that we are fighting in this case is a corollary of the Affordable Care Act. In other words, it's not the HHS mandate that requires us to put in our insurance plan coverage for abortion-inducing drugs. Was not an act of Congress. It was not passed by our duly elected lawmakers. It was a decision. It was a regulatory, administrative decision of the Department of Health and Human Services. So, first of all, the mandate itself could simply be overturned by the next president appointing a secretary to HHS and directing that the mandate be erased. It could be as simple as that. It's an administrative decision. But if Congress acts and repeals and replaces Obamacare, then what will happen is that the fundamental basis that gave authority to the HHS to do things this way, it gave them authority to create this list of preventive services, as they're called, and to mandate that these be in the health insurance plans. It didn't say what would be on the list, but it provided the framework for them to do this. If that's taken away, then that's going to be a very interesting scenario. I'm not sure how the court would act in that way. You know, they may pose a question to the plaintiffs and say, well, you know, now that the law is no longer there, do you still have an objection? If it were clarified, if the law were changed and then it was clarified that okay, this HHS mandate is gone now, then the case becomes a moot point, and we're no longer under the mandate. But nevertheless, there still is a question there that should be answered by the court, because there is a law, there's another law in place,
yes,
as you know, which is the Religious Freedom Restoration Act.
Yes.
That law has been in place for over 20 years, and that is the law that is governing this case here. It has the HHS violated this Religious Freedom Restoration Act by imposing this mandate. And, you know, even if the mandate goes away, in some way, shape, or form, these boundary lines have to be clarified.
Thank
so
you.
that the government cannot overstep those bounds, you know, and tell a believer that they have to either follow your faith or follow the law. That's a bad set of options to give any American.
Father Pavone, thank you so much for actually setting the agenda that has to be committed to by conservatives throughout America. We have to elect people to office who are godly in principle, who will overturn the Affordable Care Act. We will also demand of our courts to clarify the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. They must do that and draw the line, not only for the president and the Supreme Court, but also for Congress in terms of overstepping the boundaries of intervening into the personal and religious affairs of men. I want to ask you finally, because I have to go because I'm out of Washington, D.C., and I do have some left-leaning people who listen to my program. Let me give you one of their questions, sir, and then I'll let you tell everyone how they can support Priests for Life versus Burwell. Sir, we're not asking the Catholic Church to hand out condoms inside the church. We're not asking the teachers in the Catholic school to hand out condoms or to even teach about this. We're not even asking you all to shut down your hospitals and stuff. Come on, you all are just being overly dramatic because we're asking you to give insurance to people who are needy. Can you respond to that, sir?
We want to give insurance to people that are needy. That's why we offer it. We offer the insurance. But when that insurance plan is hijacked, and that's what we're complaining about, the insurance plans we offer are being hijacked by the government as a vehicle to expand coverage for abortion and contraception. All we're saying is leave us out of it, because, and I appreciate the tenor of the question, because just as we do understand and we do recognize that you are not asking us to change our teachings or to hand out, contraceptives in church. We understand that. At the same time, neither are we saying that the government can't hand these things out. If the government wants to distribute contraceptives free of charge to our employees, of course we disagree with that on a moral level.
Yeah.
But we're not. This case does not challenge that on the legal level. It doesn't. This case is not about stopping the distribution of contraceptives by the government or by anybody who wants to distribute them. All this case is about is that we need to be free to practice our faith in all the dimensions of our life. And the federal law already protects us on that. And so all we're saying is, listen, if you're going to distribute these things more widely, please don't involve us. We belong to a faith, and there are many faiths represented in this case, by the way. We represent faiths that teach that these things are wrong. So please let us live out our religion. That's what America's supposed to be about.
Yeah, and also one final question for those on the left. It's just you Catholic people who are upset. If we could just satisfy you Catholic people, then everything will be good about the Affordable Care Act, and we can go on and run through the daisies in the field, and everyone will be happy. Is it just Catholics who are upset about this, sir?
Well, you mentioned the names of some of the cases here that are joined together with us in the Supreme Court. East Texas Baptist, Southern Nazarene. I mean, we've got people from all kinds of denominations. Furthermore, friends of the court that have signed briefs in this case include Jewish rabbis, people, representatives of Islam, Hare Krishnas, a whole range of faiths. Some of them I don't even recognize myself. That's the beauty of America is that we've got all these different people believe in all these different things, and yet there are things that run in common among us all, and one of those common things is a very deep concern about this current legislation and the things that flow from it, like this HHS mandate. And that it's striking a very deep chord in America. So it's certainly not just Catholics. Now, Catholics, of course, are a very, very large and vocal and highly structured religion with a big voice in America. But by no means is this just limited to us.
Sir, there are people out there tonight who are sitting on the sidelines who did not know that Priests for Life and Southern Nazarene University and the Roman Catholic Archbishop and First Texas Baptist University, that all these people were fighting against it. They just thought it was the Catholic Church. How can people support Priests for Life in this particular battle? How can they come alongside to make certain that not only politically but judicially these particular errors are corrected?
Well, they can let us know, first of all, that they agree with us. And there's a special website, istandwithpfl.com. And that's where they can learn more about the case. They can see who the plaintiffs are, and they can register their support by saying, hey, yeah, I agree with this. istandwithpfl.com. And then, of course, they can pray with us. And there's another website we set up, SupremeCourtVictory.com. And at SupremeCourtVictory.com, we have some interdenominational prayers that can be said not only for victory in this case, but for the elimination of the HHS mandate. So I want to invite our listeners, get to know us. We want to work with you. We want to reach out to you. We want to all work together to make these good changes in our nation, and we can do it together.
Final question for you, Father. Are you happy that Grassley will not consider even holding a hearing for Mr. Garland today?
Yes, I am. Yes, I believe that's the right position for the Senate to take right now, because you know what? We have an election right on the horizon, and if the American people want the nation and the court to continue to go in the direction that President Obama has taken it, well, they're going to have a chance to say so in the ballot box, and then the kind of justice that, in fact, they could renominate the one he just nominated today. Yeah. No problem. But I think there's a big change coming, and if the American people want the nation and the court to go in a different direction, let them speak first. We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, not of the president or of the court. It's of the people. And let them decide, because that vacancy is going to be filled one way or another. Exactly. And the president and the Senate, as you explained before, are the ones who decide. But we elect the both. We elect the president, we elect the Senate. So let the people elect the kind of people they want to have in there, and then they'll do their job in come the end of January.
Father, who's going to win March Madness? Would it be Notre Dame?
You know what? Now, here's an area where I am really not too qualified. We've been talking about some pretty deep issues here, but I'm afraid I'm out of my league when it comes to that.
No problem, sir. Father Pavone, we are always loving and adoring of the fact that you spend time with us to bring us up to date on the issues that you face with Priests for Life. And God bless you, sir. We'll be calling upon you in the next few weeks regarding this particular issue and matter.
Well, please do. I look forward to talking to you again. These are certainly interesting times, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss.
Most certainly. Thank you so much, sir. God bless and have a very good night. That is Father.
You too.
Thank you. That is Father Pavone for Priests for Life. We will be right back. And ladies and gentlemen, the Father made a very important point here. This election is about the next generation of businesses, of families, and of faith. I know you're sitting on the sidelines and you're thinking to yourself, my guy is out of here. I don't have anyone to vote for, and I ain't going to vote. Ladies and gentlemen, you're sitting at home, may put a Hillary Clinton into office, and may take away some of the most conservative members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, and may open the door for your religious liberties to be taken from you. Do us all a favor. Find one that you can support, even if it means holding your nose. But make certain that we hold on to the Senate, we hold on to the House, that you make certain that in your state that you hold on to the Senate or win the Senate, or hold on to the House or win the House, so that the changes that are necessary for this country to survive, for the little women of the poor to continue providing the services that they do best, make certain that you show up at the ballot box. Because, quite frankly, if you don't show up at the ballot box, it doesn't matter what happens in the jury box or even in your ammo box. Those rights will be taken from you. We'll be back with more of the best in Urban Conservative Talk right after this smoke break.
Right swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe it.
Right swipe. Right swipe. That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. You think you're my type, and I'm my type. If you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bye bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it left.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. That's the stuff I don't like, so I gotta
left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag go flexing. Yeah, you worked out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Home line, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. Hottie just couldn't overlook one small fact.
She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. You think you're my type, and I'm not type. If you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bye bye, I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
left.
left.
Swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. That's the stuff I don't like, so I gotta
left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But Based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger?
Let's like that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Let's like that. Smoking while acting healthy. Let's like that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Let's like that. Smoking with a duck face. Let's like that.
At a monster truck race?
Let's like that. Smoking at the prom. Let's like that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Let's like that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
like that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's like that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
I'm a good person. I never bothered anybody. But I can't afford a nice house in a safe neighborhood. I live in a government high-rise. Gangbangers and drug dealers walk down our halls every day. My neighbors and I were scared. We called the police, but they can't keep us safe. Some of us are too afraid to even leave our apartments. But the housing authority told me if I bought a gun to protect myself, they'd throw me to the streets. If I'm not free because of my address today, what makes you think you'll be free tomorrow? I marched behind Martin Luther King at Selma. I know my rights. Now I have my gun. I am the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Nothing illustrates America's breakdown like the way the president's hometown celebrates its holidays. Memorial Day, 12 dead, 56 wounded. The 4th of July, 10 dead, 53 wounded. Labor Day, 9 dead, 46 wounded. This kind of third world carnage has become absolutely normal. If the president held a press conference every time multiple people were murdered by criminal gangbangers with illegal guns in Chicago, we'd hear from him almost every day. Instead, he says nothing. And the untold secret in Washington is that he has all the laws he needs to stop the bloodshed now. Under the existing federal gun laws, he could take every felon with a gun, drug dealer with a gun, and criminal gangbanger with a gun off the streets tomorrow and lock them up for 5 years or more. But he won't do it. His Justice Department won't do it. And the media never ask why. So convicted gangbangers carry illegal guns because they fear rival gangs more than they fear being prosecuted for a gun charge. Every police officer on the streets in cities like Chicago, Baltimore, and Detroit knows what it's like to get called to a murder scene, knowing full well who did it, because the killer was in the back of their car yesterday or last week. Thugs like Darius Brown, who was supposed to be serving a 10-year sentence for second-degree felony robbery, but got let off with 5 years probation. So he was free to roam the streets and kill a 9-year-old girl while she was doing her homework. If you want to stop violent crime, and I know you do, take violent criminals off the street. Prosecute them under the current federal gun laws and make sure they don't get to their next crime scene. That's the way to save lives. If the president held a press conference tomorrow morning and directed every federal jurisdiction to round up every felon with a gun, drug dealer with a gun, and criminal gangbanger with a gun, law enforcement would have thousands of violent thugs in handcuffs and squad cars by sundown. Instead, he waits for a crime that fits his agenda and blames the NRA. Mr. President, we will not accept blame for your failure. The NRA has demanded the strongest possible prosecution of the federal gun laws for over 20 years. Our repeated calls have been met by deafening silence from the Washington elites. President Obama and Hillary Clinton and other politicians use the carnage to campaign for more gun laws. They won't and don't enforce. And the good, honest Americans living out in farm towns in Nebraska or Oklahoma, or working 2 jobs in inner city Chicago or Baltimore. People who keep their heads down, raise their kids, and just try to do the right thing, they see through it all. We've lived through the Clinton administration's utter lack of federal gun prosecutions, and the Obama administration is following suit while the country suffers. And we know that a second Clinton administration will just mean more of the same. Americans have no tolerance for violent thugs, no tolerance for the politicians who enable them, and no tolerance for a media that devotes endless time to new gun laws, but won't even ask why we don't enforce the existing federal gun laws we already have. No organization has been louder, clearer, or more consistent on the urgent need to enforce the federal gun laws than the NRA. And in the face of mounting political and media pressure to demean, shame, and silence us, we will fight. If you have had enough of the dishonest debate, if you're sick and tired of politicians blaming you and your guns for their failure, demand truth and justice. Stand and fight with the NRA.
I learned that from Kel. Kel Fritz, the beautiful woman from Canada that does all of the Blog Talk Radio production work. I mean, every show. She produces, she does the heavy murder shows, the EDL, everything against Muslims and Mohammedans. And she even has time for cookware shows. I don't know where she finds the time, but Kel Fritz does find the time. And so glad to have her in the chat room tonight. Such a beautiful woman. Mary Brockman's in the chat room, the most beautiful of all the women in the chat room, of course. She's my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed. Dan Butcher, who is not beautiful, but certainly one of the most productive men in the conservative movement, especially in publishing. Glad to have him here tonight. And then Carmen Sandiego is bringing up the rear. Carmen Sandiego and I have not spoken for a while, and that's my fault. My schedule has taken me away from doing so, but I promise I'm going to reach out to Carmen Sandiego, and I'm going to put Carmen Sandiego on the pathway to citizenship. You don't have to jump the fence anymore. I'm with you. No, the professor, Dr. Michael Jones, will be with us tomorrow night from 9 to 11. So glad to have him here tonight. Big show on tomorrow. I just heard from my benevolent dictator, Dr. Gerard Lamero, will be on tomorrow on the Conservative Commandos radio show, so definitely tune in. On Friday, Dr. Alveda King will be on at 4:30 on the Conservative Commandos radio show, so definitely tune in. I want to do this right here, ladies and gentlemen. This woman called me. 2 weeks ago. We're with you, Carmen. We're with you. And she was kind of feeling me out. You know, after you lost your son, who was shot in the head in front of your door, after just leaving home in Springfield, Massachusetts, and all the promises that were made to you. And you know how politicians make a lot of promises to you. You know, we're going to get down to this. We're going to find out who did this. But you know, in the street, in the hood, that's not true, because in the hood there is a no snitch rule. You don't bust on nobody. You keep that on the DL. Unless they turn on you, then you turn on them. That's just basically the rule of all politics, whether it's the United Nations or the corner of 14th and V. But the bottom line is that she was calling me to find out if I was real. What's all this open heart, closed case campaign stuff about? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people made promises to me and they haven't been very helpful to me at all. And so after praying with Juanita Batchelor and encouraging her, and as I've had people try to encourage me, I made a request of her. I said, would you do me a favor? Because I really want you to work with me on Open Heart Closed Case. I want you to film just a short take, because people today don't have a lot of time. They're not going to sit there to watch a 60-minute show about Lassie rescuing a little boy from a well anymore. We got about a minute and a half of their time, and probably only a half minute when we really think about it. So I need for you to tell your story in about a minute and a half. And after you tell that story, after you film yourself doing it, I want you to send it to me so that we can send it out to the world. Juanita Batchelor overcoming her distrust, overcoming the pain that comes with repeating the story of how you found out your child died. Took a few moments out of her life with her niece, I believe, and she filmed a video to talk about her son. It's only a minute and 13 seconds long. And when we first sent that video out at the end of last week, got basically 1, 2, maybe 15 hits. As of today, over 40,000 people have viewed that video. I'm going to play the sound for you tonight. And I want you to know that there are not only a Juanita Batchelor in Springfield, Massachusetts, but there's a Ken McClinton and a Francine Milton in Washington, D.C., and so many others around the country who have lost their loved ones, not to gun violence, not to knife violence, but to pure hatred and ungodliness. We're in a spiritual battle, people. If I took away everyone's guns, we would find something else to kill people with. In fact, the first murder was done with a rock. So are we going to get rid of all the rocks on the earth? I dare say not. But if you want to help, if you want to make a change, like the Open Heart Closed Case campaign, and support Juanita Batchelor and so many others who are coming out of the shadows after being told by those in their communities to shh, don't say nothing, you'll get over it, and life will go on. Juanita Batchelor talking about her son.
Victim of a homicide, unsolved homicide. My son, Bill Jenkins, 23 years old, was murdered out here at 156 Kensington Ave, June 4th, 2014. This is our home. He was shot in the head. They haven't found his murderer. He was a father of 2 daughters. He was an amazing brother, super grandson, an awesome nephew, an awesome son. And it's sad for me to know that people know out here what happened to him, and because of no snitch rule, nobody wants to come forth. Nobody wants to tell anything. And we deserve justice for him. I don't want my son just to be another unsolved homicide. So if anybody knows anything, I would appreciate them to come forth. We've worked with the police, the detectives. There's so many murders here that I don't feel good even looking at these murders anymore. And I'm just trying to get help for my son and my family so we can be at ease. Thank you for listening.
Please let Juanita Batchelor know that you're listening. Support the Open Heart Closed Case campaign and make her killer come to justice. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show on Rebooting Liberty, SHR Media, and this is SHR Media Night. Sakia Sean, Sakia Clint coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and none other than the great High Plains Talk Media Radio. Want to advise everyone that we will be releasing the Kraken at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second half of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialists. I'm yours truly, the Exceptional One, and I'm also known as Ken McClinton. Listen, we certainly are very thankful this particular evening because we have Mrs. Biggs watching us via live stream or Ustream. We also have Mary Brockman in our chat room. Mary is our bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, and whoop, you will be dismissed. And as well, none other than the beautiful, the lovely Kel Fritz. Now, equally as beautiful and charming, the professor is in our chat room this particular evening under Carmen Sandiego. He will be with us tomorrow night at 9:10 p.m. as we do a sneak preview of WNJC 1360 AM's best show at 5 p.m. on Saturdays. Yes, it's none other than New Day Black and Red. Look, D.C. is fast becoming the crime capital of the world. You're right, Mary. It really is. From the capital all the way out. Ladies and gentlemen, with us tonight, as we have with us every Wednesday night, is a young man who understands that it's okay to let it go. Let it go. Without further ado, and with much awakening.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com.
You're the only participant in the conference.
Okay, we're not going to do that right now. I thought he was in there. Ralph Chittams, we are expecting at 10:10. Thought he'd be a little early. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you very quickly. A lot of people are asking, what exactly is the HHS mandate, and why you're talking about it tonight with Father Frank Pavone, and why are you being so provocative, saying that there's a genocide going on in urban America?
The Obama administration dictated that every Catholic school, hospital, and charity must include services that many Catholics consider immoral. After President Obama's mandate, Catholic schools, charities, and hospitals are left with three choices. They could pay for services and violate their beliefs. They could pay fines of $100 per employee per day, leading many to shut down. Or they could strip care from everyone they serve and limit the good they did to Catholics only. Why does this matter? The Catholic Church provides an education to over 2 million American children every year. The Catholic Hospital Network is one of our nation's finest. In fact, 1 out of every 6 hospitalized Americans is being cared for in a Catholic hospital. And the Catholic Church makes serving the poor a cornerstone of its good work. Over 7 million men, women, and children receive food services from Catholic charities every year. This election, it is critical that we vote for the candidate who is going to protect these religious institutions.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason that we're fighting for making certain that the religious mandates are taken away, and that we finally have freedom in America. Releasing the KRAKEN now, my beautiful executive producer.
This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com.
There's one other participant in the conference. Please announce yourself.
None other than the great Ralph Chittams, DC GOP Vice Chairman, who was not a part of that fiasco on Saturday. Good evening, sir. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
All right, good evening. How are you?
Just fine. Listen, 3.5 hours, but it was worth it, right?
Hey, like I said, I had nothing to do with that. I take no credit. I take no blame.
Now, Marco Polo Rubio, a man of great wisdom on the size of men's hands, won that particular caucus on Saturday. And then he quit on you all. Is that acceptable?
He didn't quit on me. Well, first things first, I mean, it was clear when he didn't win Florida, he has no pathway to the nomination. It's also clear that Kasich doesn't have a pathway to the nomination. The only two people numerically who have a shot at getting to that magic 1,237 number are Cruz and Trump. So the question then becomes, why is Kasich still in the race? Well, clearly Kasich is still in the race because he tried to siphon off enough delegates to make sure that neither Cruz nor Trump get to that magic number so that there can be a global convention, and then he hopes that his Rhino friends will get together and push him to the nomination.
Now we're hearing.
Come on, it's simple math. Just look at it.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Kasich said last night he's in this to win it. He won his home state. I mean, isn't that credibility in itself?
The fact that Kasich says that he can win the nomination and win enough delegates is evidence right there that Common Core is a failed educational system. This is a master.
Oh, man. I am sorry, Mary. You're going to be stuck with Kasich until the end of his term. He won't be coming to Washington, D.C. I know y'all tried to give him away.
but here's the crazy part. You know, you have people now, John Boehner just came out and said that the convention was brokered. Ryan could be the president. Now, how crazy is that?
Paul Ryan.
The former Speaker of the House is now endorsing the current Speaker of the House to be the next Republican nominee for President of the United States if the convention goes brokered, and he hasn't even gotten one delegate.
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up.
Exactly. Now, there have been rumors that Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney have been working behind the scenes to broker the convention so that they might get back into it and win it. Individually as well as a corporate body, Romney-Ryan. As if that car or truck didn't work the last time, we can re-engineer it and run it again, and it will win. But
what's that old country phrase? That dog won't hunt.
That dog ain't hunting. but now you won't have the pleasure of being in Cleveland as a delegate, but you will be in Cleveland.
They haven't worked up the details for how individuals can purchase tickets to the convention, but I'm working on a couple of different angles to get myself to Cleveland. So there's a very good chance I will be in Cleveland with my back up against the wall, watching Trump supporters throw punches at everybody else when the RNC members try to steal the convention away from us.
Talking about, you won't need Black Lives Matter. It's going to get rowdy up in that camp if something goes off with the Trump supporters there. But
we'll be fighting inside and outside the arena.
Bring your own chair to the WW show.
That's about the size of it. Bring your own chair. Smash it over somebody's head. That's what's coming.
But we're looking at a two-man race from this point on. We get the news that tomorrow night, and I kind of sort of agree with Donald Trump here, but this is where I am on that debate thing, and I just want to hear from you as we're releasing the Kraken this evening, Doctor. I'm sorry, I keep saying that, but maybe you need to go there and work on that. Ralph Chittams Sr. is with us tonight. There are two guys that shouldn't even. There's one guy who's left now who shouldn't even be on the stage. There are only two guys who are left, and they should be there for the debate. But I kind of feel like Trump right about this point. If you put Kasich back up on this stage, it's not worth it. I've already done that. Let's get ready to take on Hillary. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I kind of have to agree. I mean, we got, 15 debates now?
Yeah, I think we've had 115.
And it's not like we're getting any new questions from any new moderators. It's the same stuff recycled, recanned over and over and over again. I mean, I can understand why any candidate would finally say, enough is enough. This isn't Groundhog Day.
It isn't.
So I don't blame Trump for saying, look, I'm not doing it. And then Kasich says, well, if Trump's not there, it doesn't make any sense for me to be there. Well, that's true too. And then Fox winds up canceling the debate. Now, here is what Cruz should do. Cruz should set up a nationally televised town hall somewhere where he sits on the stage and holds court, appears presidential, and answers any question that's thrown at him.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's $1 million brilliant there.
That's what Cruz should do in this time slot that has been a vacuum has been created in because the other two have backed out. Now that's what I would advise him to do.
I would do it too. That's brilliant. That's great PR. I would do it any single day, and I would do it at a Chicago university if I had to. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But to that effect, the best debater will not be heard tomorrow night, and that's Ted Cruz, which works out well for both of the other guys.
Well, of course. Because I'm not trying to be insulting, but Donald Trump's fans don't care about facts.
There you go.
and the same thing should be said for Hillary Clinton supporters and Bernie Sanders supporters. To them, facts are irrelevant.
Exactly.
So what's the sense of going into a debate with someone whose followers are fact adverse?
Doesn't make sense at all. Doesn't make sense at all. listen, in finality on this particular subject matter, because I think they wear this horse out with the paddle too often on the cable networks, especially on Fox. And for all of us who went with that the governor from Wisconsin was going to be president of the United States, egg on the face, that Ben Carson was going to be president of the United States, egg on the face. Can we just bring this to a close? Is there going to be a broker convention, or will these two meet together and say, you know what, it's better that we fight together than fight apart?
I honestly expect the convention to be brokered.
Wow.
Because, I was having this conversation tonight. Let's look at the math. You need 1,237 delegates to win the nomination. There are a total of 2,363 delegates available. If Trump shows up in Cleveland with 1,000 delegates, that means there are 1,363 delegates that are out there dispersed among all of the other candidates that have run for president. Do you really think that all of those other delegates are going to coalesce and come behind Cruz so that he would get the nomination about Donald Trump?
I was hoping.
No, it's not. So, now, is it possible that Cruz could run the table and actually get to the magic 1237 number before Cleveland? Yeah, it's possible. But what are the odds of going to an inside straight?
Not good. Not good. It ain't going to happen. Exactly. I'm predicting that he's going to win Utah and Arizona next week. He's going to win most of the West, but that's virtually going to put them at a tie that puts them both under the...
That's why...
Yeah.
Right, and that's why having Kasich in the race becomes critical to anyone who is really counting on a broker convention, because you have to have a third party, a third candidate in there to break up the vote counts from the two top vote getters to prevent either one of them from getting to the magic 1237.
Now, the Romney rule, real quick on this one, is that you first had to win 8 states. So that means Kasich's automatically out. Sure. He's not going to win 8 states. It ain't going to happen.
Exactly.
And the other two have already won, or have forgive me, probably by next week, Cruz will have amassed his 8-state limit. Trump has already won more than 8 states. Rubio won Puerto Rico and D.C., which aren't states. So he doesn't qualify.
Yeah, but for these purposes, it counts as a state.
It counts as a state. There you go. But nevertheless, there are only 2 that will actually meet the Romney rule. How are we going to get a broken... Yeah.
Well, we have to remember, you have RNC members right now that are plotting and scheming to how they're going to undo Rule 40, which is the Romney rule, to allow any candidate who had a single delegate to be placed into nomination on the first round of balloting. So they are moving right now to undo the Romney rule so that they can force it into a broker convention.
Oh my God! So virtually, you have a situation right here where Jeb Bush can get right back in it, or Marco Rubio can get right back in it.
I said, well, we already have a scenario where John Boehner is pushing Ryan to be the nominee of the Republican Party for president.
Wow.
He said that, once the convention goes brokered, the current Speaker of the House is being, promoted for president by the past Speaker of the House. And then you have some other guy at the RNC going around saying that, well, the voters don't select the nominee for the Republican Party, the elites in the RNC do. So, so you have a whole bunch of people that are scared that Donald Trump is going to, take their bread and butter.
Wow.
Because he's not using that political class of pundits like Carl Rose and all the rest of them. And it's killing our party.
So really, this is a battle between Trump and K Street. The K Street lobbyists are a big concern right about here because he's going to take away their influence.
Exactly.
Wow.
In the words of great Bugs Bunny episode, "Oh brother, there goes me bread and butter."
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is really not about the politics of you going to the polls and voting. This is really the down and dirty. This is about who's going to take control of 495 in that circle. Who's going to take control? And there are people who right now, with their little scotch, sitting by the TV screen watching Donald Trump take away their influence, their power, and everything they spent 40 or 50 years building up right here, right now. And Ted Cruz. I mean, scary for them. That's why they want to take the broker. I was hoping that there would not be a broker convention, but it looks like it will be. Question for you on Metro. Because I believe that there was a terrorist threat. I believe that's the only reason in the world that you would shut down a metro system, a metro rail system that serves 700 to 750,000 people every single day and serves 2 states and the District of Columbia. The only thing I could think of would be a terrorist attack. Your thoughts, sir?
I have the same thought. That this just seems too contrived, that you're going to shut down the entire system to check the electrical wiring, but there was a terror alert that was issued just a few days earlier. I don't buy it.
Yeah,
I think there was a terror. I think there was a terror threat, and they had to figure out some way to keep residents out of the metro system without creating a panic. And I think this was the cover story they came up with.
Now, if they find something truly wrong, and I put my air quotes up here with the metro system, do you believe that they will make a remark early tonight, early tomorrow morning, that the system has to stay shut down for a second day?
Well, let's understand very clearly. The metro system is so screwed up that they have to do is go into a tunnel for 5 minutes and they're going to find something serious.
Oh, man. If the low-risk stuff closes your gates for a day, imagine when you get around to the high-risk stuff.
Exactly. So, they can easily find some justifiable reason to have shut down the metro system, but I really do believe the initial impetus for this was a terror threat.
Yeah, I believe it so too. And now we're getting word from Metro that the general manager says the shutdown was necessary. Damaged cables were replaced, and that they will be reopening the Metro rail system at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you will be able to go to work on time tomorrow without any problems or concerns. But that leads me to a question. I thought Democrats were against monopolies. Isn't this a monopoly that Metro has over the entire Metro region?
Yeah, basically it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at most urban transit systems, most of them are monopolies.
Mm-hmm.
You have WMATA here, you have MARTA in Atlanta, you have MTA in New York. You're talking monopolies. Where's the competition? There is none.
Exactly. I think it's time now for conservatives to take a look, if there were real conservatives in urban America, to present a proposal to break up the monopoly called Metro. It's time to break up the monopoly. And that you only have one train system, that you only have one public youth service system, you only have one Metro bus system. You have a few others, but they're virtually owned by the same public transit system. Ladies and gentlemen, there should not be a monopoly of the public good regarding public transportation. I'm just saying that you need private opportunities there that would have kept the city going and without encumbrance throughout the course of this particular day.
Honestly, the Metro's initial problem was the design problem that they were told about before they laid the first track back in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
People who knew transit system told those idiots, you do not run a single track system in a major municipality. You do not run a single track system. You need to have express tracks and spurs so that you don't have these types of issues. But, somebody who was smarter than the average bear didn't listen to anybody, and they built a single track system which is completely non-functional.
Well, let me just ask you, sir, how was the traffic on 8th Street today. Did the streetcar help out with the Metro fiasco today?
I stayed in my house today. I didn't go outside, so I had to go to the hill later this afternoon for a meeting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go. No, all those people on the road who don't know how to drive in the first place, and now you add to that group, another group of people who don't know how to drive. I wasn't coming outside.
It sounds like we have someone else on the line. Sounds like we have a very cuddly person on the line. And I want to first congratulate you, Ralph. I was very proud of you because you put together a slate of individuals who are going to uphold the Constitution. Can you tell us about that slate and your thoughts on how you performed at the primary caucus on Saturday?
Well, we put together an inclusion and growth slate that would comprise of people who understand that in order to grow a party, we have to do it from the grassroots level up. And basically, the slate that won was the Marco Rubio slate of individuals. They were at the block and basically sent all their people to the convention in Cleveland. But, I put together a slate of people that I believe in. We ran on principles. We ran on solid conservative values. And, I'd rather lose a principle fight than win after having compromised.
No, I would rather lose a principal fight than to have voted for Marco Rubio. Anyway, who quit right after you voted for him. Good job, man. Good job. Listen, while you're on the line, I want to introduce us up. We're talking with Ralph Chittams Sr. Ralph, can you tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, because you have been a cornerstone of change for urban America around this country. And I want you to stay on long enough so that you hear the next words of the fellow woman from the great state of Baltimore. How can people get in contact with you, sir?
On Facebook and Twitter, RJCHITTAMSSR. And then you can also send me a note, ralph.chittams@ecglp.com.
There you are. Will you be at the Frederick Douglass Institute this weekend?
Yes, I will be down at Hampton University this weekend for the Frederick Douglass Institute Turning the Tide event, hosted by my good friend Dean Nelson. We're going to bring together a star-studded panel. I don't have the names off the top of my head. I'm actually traveling as we speak.
Yes.
But we're going to do this, empowering pastors, how to deal with the issues of the day from a biblical perspective so that they can affect change, not just inside of their churches, but inside of their communities.
There you go. Well said. Stay on the line, sir. Ralph Chittams. Definitely check him out on Facebook and Twitter. And also, you'll be on Radio 1 with, what's his name?
Not this week, because I'm actually going to be on the road. I'll be down. So we're in Hampton. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So I won't be on News 101 this week, but hopefully I'll be back on the air next week.
All right, great. Hang on the line. We have with us the beautiful, the brilliant, the vibrant, virtually a baby sister to me, none other than Pastor Shannon Wright. Shannon Wright, it is so good to have you on the air with us tonight.
Good evening. How are you?
We are very, very good tonight. Now, Pastor Shannon took up the great responsibility of Open Heart Closed Case back in November, and it was Reverend, Bishop, oh my goodness, my memory goes that quickly. Bishop what?
Wellington Boone.
Thank you. It was Bishop Wellington Boone. How could I forget? Who prayed over you. Okay, well, wait.
I just had to get a cab's attention. Sorry about that. My apologies. That just came out of me.
Listen,
that's all. Real life stuff. That's all.
Listen, Ralph, this is how you get a cab in D.C. if you're a black brother. You find a white person and you stand next to them and you tell him to hold his arm out. Then you jump in the cab.
I'm going to apologize. I am not messing with a job. You are in rare form this evening talking about all the stuff going on a national level, and then that stuff they're going on in D.C. with your veteran, and y'all need to keep that over on that side there. We don't need that over here.
Over in Charm City, that is. Ladies and Wellington Boone prayed over her. She took on the mantle of the Open Heart Closed Case campaign, and she became a reckless, abandoned warrior, raw, up in B-More. And she has begun to gain quite notoriety within the region, certainly in the city of Baltimore. But I want her to make her announcement tonight so that the rest of the world can hear how faith overcomes and principles overcome rather than the fear of what the past has done for us. Without further ado, Pastor Shannon Wright, please make your announcement to the world of what is to come in Baltimore City for you.
Well, I'm currently running for City Council President, as most of your listeners know. But tomorrow evening, I've been invited to attend the Baltimore City GOP Central Committee meeting, where I'm going to be nominated for a spot on the Central Committee.
Okay, you're going to be nominated for a spot on the Central Committee. Okay. Wink, wink, what does that mean?
Well, it means that Baltimore is a city that is at a crossroads and recognizes a need for change and a need for two voices. And it is my intent to bring some life and some spirit back to where it needs to be here in Baltimore so that there will be two voices balanced and hopefully one in control come November.
All right, so what is that? Why did the committee become attracted to Pastor Shannon Wright, besides the fact that she bakes very well?
Yeah. We've been doing some things. We did an event a couple of weeks back at the corner of Penn and North, where the CVS burned down, and we had a table out there, below the Republican banner sign. Other candidates were out there, some of the Central Committee members came out. We talked with some of the folks that live here in the city, and some of them asked if, we were sure we knew where we were, all that kind of thing. But it was good. It was good. We're going to be doing some more events like that. Baltimore has been one solid and one day for far too long. And those of us that are running here in Baltimore this year have decided that we are going to take a stand and we're going to be heard. As a matter of fact, this evening, I'm sitting here and talking to you all, and I have two guests that we're going to be having a meeting after the meeting, two mayoral candidates from Baltimore, Larry Morgan and Chancellor Tilbert, who are both on the Republican ballot as well.
Now, I have two great committee leaders. Well, you'll be a committee leader by the end of tomorrow night. Vice chairman of the DC GOP here. I'm praying future chairwoman of the Baltimore GOP. That's what I'm praying for. But I got big dreams. Lady and gentlemen, you know what's going on behind the scenes. People are playing for the brokered convention. Why is it important? And I want the vice chairman to speak first, and then the future chairman, or whatever you'll be on the committee, to speak second. But why is it important for urban Americans to get involved in the delegate process?
Well, it's important for us to get involved in the delegate process because that's the level where the ultimate decision is made at the convention regarding who the party's nominee is going to be. Now in most years it becomes, an irrelevant, proposition because one candidate shows up with enough delegates to win the nomination on the first ballot. But in a year like this, especially for the Republicans, there's a very good possibility that no one is going to get the nomination on the first ballot. And then on the second ballot, all the delegates are then free. They become unbound and they can vote for whomever they want. So if I go to the convention, and I'm a bound Cruz delegate, that means I have to vote for Ted Cruz during the first round of balloting. If he doesn't win and it goes to a second round of balloting, heck, I could vote for Deputy Dog.
Deputy Dog is trending. Pastor Shannon.
It's democracy.
There you go.
All of these different things that are going on this year are all about democracy. And it's about the fight and how much fight we're all willing to put in to be able to preserve the foundation of this great country. And that's what we're going back to. Every city, every town, every little nook and cranny has an issue. Some, if you want to judge, some people may say are bigger and smaller than others, but everywhere has an issue. It's really about taking the time to understand and then act on the rights and the privileges that we're all granted to be able to protect what we consider our rights.
Now, there are lots of people who are listening to you tonight in Baltimore and out of Washington, D.C., and around the country and around the world, in fact. And they're saying to you, well, you know what? A little bit of security for a little bit of liberty, what's the hurt? What's the pain? Especially in urban America, where a metro system shuts down, and I'm okay. The government still keeps me employed. What's lost by having you guys become big leaders in the GOP in your central cities?
Well, especially for I'm just going to pump up Shannon and Pastor Wright and Baltimore for a minute. I don't remember ever in the history of Baltimore where you have this many Republicans contesting these many seats at the same time. So you have 11 seats that are up for election, I believe, and Pastor Shannon will correct me if I'm wrong, and I think out of the 14, 11 of them are being contested by Republicans. See, this is a landmark sea change that has been brought about simply because black conservatives are finally getting our feet under us, and we're saying enough is enough, and we're tired of these Democrats running our cities into the ground.
I would have to concur. I really would. I really would. I'm in Baltimore right now. I'm working with some folks to put together some unity events. Because we have, and I'll say this right there now, because I want folks to be thinking about it. We're going to have a convergence of opportunity for some not so good stuff. So folks need to understand, specifically in Baltimore, that we need to come together, those of us that have a like-minded and understanding, to put some positive energy into the atmosphere and some positive works in action on the ground here in Baltimore. Next month is an Allen State primary, April 26th. Next month, that same week, is the 1 year mark for all the specialness that happened in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And next month, that same week, there is also rumor and speculation that the gentleman they're calling the current front runner on the Republican side might try and actually stop through Baltimore. Now, that's not, to me, a good mix of ingredients. When responding to that on the local level, DeRay McKesson, who is one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, is also running for mayor here. It's not a good mix. Mm-hmm. So we're putting together some events and doing some things and being really vocal and upfront about it over the next couple of weeks to try and make sure that as many folks as we can reach, we have reached, so that the thought process is in its correct spot to be able to grow, not destroy, but to grow this city and use that as a place to build from.
Now, there's some that will say that you two happen to be, I won't use the phrase Uncle Tom because that's inaccurate. But you all happen to be the exception to the rule. And that you're just doing this for the sake of publicity. You really don't care about the people. You're just basically trying to get along. and to be loved by those people who happen to be living either in Rock Creek Park or in Johns Hopkinsville. Your responses back to that.
Have you been to Baltimore lately? Let me tell you something. If I really wanted notoriety or celebrity, I would not be a Republican. We are the most ignored group of folk on the planet in this city.
Mm-hmm.
So, there goes that. And in terms of whether my card has been revoked or not, it's firmly in my purse. Where it's going to stay. Because I know where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that this is about a future. It's about economics that make sense. I explain it to people like this. You look at the Democrats, you look at the Republicans. Now let's say both of those parties are parents. And both those parents have a kid. When that kid grows up, that kid's 45 years old, and it's not cute anymore. That kid comes to you with their hand out asking you for your keys. Are you going to be so uncomfortable to do stuff? No. You're going to tell you, get a job, get off your couch, go find your own couch and your own keys to your own house and car.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different. You have to give folks the choice to be able to stand on their own, to be able to advance themselves. Not to sit there and only be able to look to you with their hand out, wondering why you have the nerve not to put something in it.
Amen. Amen. Doctor.
And that's how we raise our children. So that's the kind of principle we need to translate into our day-to-day lives. And if we, those of us that profess in words to have a faith, and those are the principles that are aligned in that faith, then we need to be elected officials that understand the concept and have a full grasp of it and can effect policy to reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm a Republican.
There you go.
There you go.
So, I want to say this to you. I'm very proud of both of you at this point, and I have to go to a quick commercial break because I went over. But for both of you, with the campaigns that are going on and everything else, you all are setting the foundation for the return. Back in 1932, African Americans decided to forsake the Republican Party as they believed that they were forsaken by the Republican Party, and they coalesced 71% vote for FDR. That has only gone up from 1932 to 2008, where 98% of blacks voted for Barack Hussein Obama. There is a trend backwards, and I'm glad that you all are leading that particular trend backwards. I want to give you each an opportunity to tell everybody how they can get in contact with you and support you in your move of bringing America back to its original conservative foundation.
Well, just one minor correction. I would not use the term backward. I would say we are going to return the Republican Party home to where it belongs.
Amen. Well said.
I can get with that. As far as reaching me, Wright from Maryland at Gmail is my email. Wright from Maryland on Facebook is my campaign site, the page, and WrightFromMaryland.com is where you'll find my website. Now I'm going to ask that everybody listening do me a huge favor. Because in order to, as a good friend of mine, Lonnie Poindexter says, the time lifts all ships. So in order for this time here in Baltimore to actually lift these ships, I'm going to need all y'all's help. So I would appreciate it if you would go to Wright from Maryland on Facebook and like the page. Number one, and go to WrightFromMaryland.com. Sign up there so you can get email updates. And you notice a pretty little Baltimore City icon. That's actually a donate button. And if you don't, click on that and be generous and make that equal to the amount of change you all know we need in our urban areas, I'd be greatly appreciative. We have one of those nasty things called a filing to be done at the end of this month. And I want to let Jack Young know, not just by my words, but by my campaign, that I'm coming for you.
All right now. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Ralph, how can they get in contact with you? Okay, so we're missing Ralph at this particular juncture. I will say this to both of you. We love you dearly. We thank you so much for coming on tonight. And the big news tonight, Shannon Wright will be voted on to the committee with the Baltimore City Council. And so I am just elated this evening. Many people thought 6 years ago when I got into this that I was merely a bemusement, a little, I forget all the other terms that they call me, and I try to erase them from my mind, but an extraordinary amongst the ordinary, an exceptional one, I perceive, someone who was slightly different. Okay, we'll turn it down for you, Kel and Mary. We'll turn it down for you. I apologize. But I will say this to you all. I am very glad that we have fought the good fight and that we have at least gotten to this particular point. Someday you might be able to tell your children that this is where the jump off started, when we began to bring back our conservative roots to urban America. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after these commercials, the last commercials of the evening.
Right swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man has shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe. Right swipe. That sounds like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten.
Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm my type. If you're gone in the cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bye bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff. Hashtag perplexing. Yeah, you worked out, you're in shape. Okay, I like the 6-pack abs, not the 6-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie, whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm my type. If you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bye bye. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger?
Left swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Left swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Left swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Left swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Left swipe that.
At a monster truck race?
Left swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Left swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
Hashtag. I'll never remember you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of a Fuse restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused sheep burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce, we start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back. You know, Infused Restaurant is the place to go in Washington, D.C. to eat, to drink, and to have a good time. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. 301-449-9000. That's 301-449-9000. That's infusedinfuse.com. Make certain that you cater your next affair with Infuse. Make certain that you have your next business meeting at Infused Restaurant. What better way to enjoy fine dining and pleasurable atmosphere with the people that you work with daily? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show. We are done for the night in terms of commercials. We are coming up on the, we're running out of time here. We're coming up on the time period where Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint take the stage out in left field land. None other than California A. Yes. And so we look forward to their wonderful, wonderful presentation of conservatism with great sophomore and even junior year humor. Sometimes they go exceedingly above that. But certainly the most wonderful program you can hear this time of night for conservative comedy. And it really is. I'm without degradation, without blowing smoke, they certainly are the best at what they do. And I'm very proud to come before them and introduce them. Ladies and gentlemen, there are lots of people around the world who are concerned about Donald Trump becoming president of the United States of America. And I wasn't going to go here, but I think I might as well at this particular juncture. I can't do the story that I had planned on. I had a conversation today with a Latina, and I have been told that using the term Hispanic is offensive. She noted very succinctly, very carefully, often that she was a Latina. And we were talking about Donald Trump. And somehow the image of Donald Trump around the world is one of a very mean-spirited, angry, offensive human being who is really a racist, a member of the KKK in disguise. Now, I'm wondering, after all of these particular months as I'm talking with her, how exactly does that narrative, that comparison of him, prevail in an age when we have media at our fingertips? And that's the cue right there. One, we get our media today from individuals who have an agenda. The same agenda as those within the 495 corridor or in New York on Wall Street, who wish to keep the power and influence amongst themselves. You know, the people on K Street are really, really ratcheting up their fight to broker the convention in Cleveland so that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz have no chance, after legitimately fighting through over 19 candidates. And I believe at one point it was 21 Republican candidates fighting. They have gotten down to really the final two. And they were not the final two that K Street and Wall Street and some people in certain places on Main Street put their money. They have put their interest and investment in the influence of Jeb Bush, who lost, Chris Christie, who lost, and Marco Rubio and John Kasich. Both are losers. But unfortunately, because K Street has an influence and doesn't want to lose it to someone who is a do-gooder and would love to see a conservative movement on Capitol Hill, one of which I have been prophesying for a long time, they're willing to do just about anything to separate these gentlemen from the crown, and I use that as metaphor, a president of the United States. But what of this Latina? Well, this Latina had the image of Donald Trump in a certain light, and so I had to discuss with her how that image gets there, but I couldn't tell her. I had to discuss it with her. I heard her out. I listened to all the things that she said. And just as she was about to do the squirrel thing and move from subject to subject, because that's what Democrats do, I wanted to make certain that she remained Republican. Let's talk about this one issue of him being a racist. Now, the country that you come from is dead set against your neighbor coming into its country. And oh, she got very upset about that. She was like, yes, because they are mean-spirited, they're degrading, they believe in witchcraft, they believe in bringing all this stuff to our country, and we don't want that in our country because we believe in God. And I said, whoa, 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 wait a minute. How are you sounding right now? She said, well, what do you mean, how am I saying? You sound kind of defensive right now, don't you? Well, I don't mean to, but you do sound defensive. You sound defensive because you believe as a citizen of your country that you have a right to approve who comes into your country and who doesn't. And yet, you're ready to condemn a man who's running for the presidency of the United States for saying the very same thing that you just said. But he's the racist. All of a sudden, her head dropped. She understood. You see, there are those out there who like to make your decision about us being a sovereign nation one built on race instead of character. You see, that fine young woman that I was speaking to, that Latina today, wants to be a U.S. citizen. But I don't think it's fair for someone who came from El Salvador or Japan or China or the Middle East to have a jump start over her, as she's been here for over 10 years and is working hard to become a U.S. citizen. All she needs to do is put in $2,000 in her papers. She had to learn that Americans feel just like she feels about her old country. That we want to control who comes in and who comes out. And we don't want anyone to take away her passage of citizenship because they jumped in front of her. A note to conservatives. Take a moment. Listen. Discuss. And persuade. Sometimes your truth can be easily disseminated so that others might join you in the cause that they didn't know they were fighting for in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, a gentleman once told me, and now that he's changed his name to Carmen Sandiego, I'm a bit worried about him. Never to be a coward, always to live bravely. I promise you I always will. I want you to always remember as well that God bless America. Now it's time for America to bless God. tune in to SHR Media tonight, or go on over to High Plains Media. As for us here at the Exception Conservative Show, we wish you Godspeed. Good night. We love you.
you.